Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I'd like to call to order the September 6th meeting of the Frederick County Planning Commission. Would you join us in a moment of silence, please? Thank you. Before we adopt the agenda, we have something special to do here. As you may recall, the last thing we did in our last meeting was say so long to Chuck Dunlap. And what we'd like to do is read a resolution of appreciation to him as a member of the Planning Commission in Frederick County. Whereas Charles F. Dunlap served as a Red Bud District representative on the Frederick County Planning Commission from the date of his appointment by the Frederick County Board of Supervisors on March 27, 2013. And whereas Charles F. Dunlap served on various committees and boards during this time of the Planning Commission, such as the Comprehensive Plan and Programs Committee, the Development Consults, where he provided significant leadership evaluating the Urban Center Design Cabinet, and where Charles F. Dunlap served in the development of various land uses, most significantly Frederick County's 2035 Comprehensive Plan and the Kernstown Area Plan. And whereas during this period of his membership on the commission, Charles F. Dunlap demonstrated both great insight into issues which face the commission and a keen sense of dedication to the betterment of his community. And whereas Charles F. Dunlap possesses the highest devotion to duty and represented the citizens and the county with dignity, dedication, and wisdom. And whereas the members of the Planning Commission wish to express their gratitude to Charles F. Dunlap and to recognize his many years of faithful service, now therefore be it resolved that on the 6th day of September 2017, the Frederick County Planning Commission does hereby officially express its sincere thanks to Charles F. Dunlap for his commitment to planning, his tireless participation in activities of the Planning Commission, and its various subcommittees, and his overall dedication to the County of Frederick. By us, the members of the Planning Commission. Thank you very much. Okey doke, we do have an agenda to adopt.
Madam Chair, I move for adoption.
Second.
Dear, all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Thank you. We have two months' minutes.
Madam Chair, I move for adoption of the June 7th and August 2nd meeting minutes.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Thank you. We do have some committee reports, and we will start out with Mr. Oates for the Transportation Committee.
Yes, ma'am. The Transportation Committee met on August 28th and discussed 6 topics. The first is the revenue sharing policy update. The state, there are major changes that adversely affect Frederick County and our ability to gain funding for projects. The available funding from the state has been reduced from $10 million to $5 million a year. The second item is a smart scale program update. There's a major change proposed by the state, and that's a reduction in the number of applications we can submit every year to 4, and that's about half of what we normally apply for. The second is a huge obstacle that is proposed, and that is a project that has proffered dollars will not be eligible for funding. This may not allow us to receive matching funds from the state on projects. The third item is the VDOT Arterial Preservation Program. This is a new program that VDOT is already implementing, although it is still being developed. This will impact all of our arterial roads, such as Route 11, 522, 7, and 50. And it makes getting new entrances, intersections, and stoplights even harder to obtain than before. Fourth item, Route 37 and Shady Elm Road access management discussion. VDOT is exploring a limited access break for the property lying between Route 11, 37, and 81 that is south of Gander Mountain. The MPO has studied this twice in the past and is not supportive. Fifth is county projects update. first item is Snowden Bridge Boulevard, which was built and pretty much completed last March. Rainstorms recently have washed out some of the shoulders. The county is working to fix these. It's expected the road will be taken into the VDOT system this fall. The Tevis Street extension at the Airport Road and I-81, the bridge over I-81 is ongoing, the design that is. It's being reviewed and expected to be approved by the end of this year. The roundabout plans have also been submitted for review, and they are expected to be approved by late winter or early spring. And then bids for that project will go out next summer. Renaissance Drive, property owner agreements have been received, and the board is evaluating the status of revenue sharing funds before beginning the design. The railroad crossing is still being worked out between the county and CSX. The Valley Mill Road realignment, the private partner involved in that from a rezoning has stated that they do not wish to continue the project, so staff is exploring ways to transfer matching fund dollars that were obtained from the state to other projects. And finally, the Jubal Early Drive extension and its interchange onto Route 37. The county has advanced the project as far as it can without an agreement from the developer, and to date, the developer is not committed to a revenue sharing agreement.
Thank you very much. May I ask Mr. Kinney to talk about the development review meeting?
Yes, Madam Chairman. DRRC met on August 24th. We had two items on our agenda. The first one was item we've had back and forth several times to try to get a workable type of, I guess, document for the buffer setback for infill parcels that we seem to be coming up, and will probably be more and more coming up in the residential side, where we didn't want to have 2 50-foot buffers back to back. We have settled on buffer A, which would be a 25 and a 50-foot buffer as suffice, and that'll come back to Planning Commission soon, I would take it. The next item we had was about solar panels. There's more and more interest in the rural areas. Lot size, 6 acres or more, for I believe Mr. Klein has researched it quite well, looked into multiple jurisdictions, so he's coming up to formulate what will go back to staff, and then it'll come back to us in DRC.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much. Historic Resources, Mr. Klein.
Historic Resource Advisory Board met August the 15th, 2017 to discuss the Carball property. The Carball house is scheduled to be demolished. They wanted an architectural study and the results sent to the DHR.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much. All right, from the City of Winchester, Mr. Mark Loring.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. Last month, the city's planning commission reviewed 6 CUPs. One was for a telecommunication facility at Walmart. One was for an extended stay lodging on South Loudon Street. 4 were for fences that are, they're all on South Street. There are 4 existing fences that are not in accordance with the city ordinance, and we reviewed that and we passed it to City Council and see what the City Council does with it. This month, we meet on the 19th. We only have one public hearing. That's for a text amendment to amend the city's ordinance pertaining to signs. That's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thanks for being with us. And Mr. Blaine Dunn from the Board of Supervisors.
Madam Chairman, last month the board approved 4 items. One was a request for a Groves Winchester Harley-Davidson party on August 12th. The second one was a request for Zachary Taylor Valley Fusion on September 16th and 17th from 10 to 12 midnight. The third one was an outdoor festival permit for the Rotary Club of Winchester, which will be held on September 17th and 18th from 10 to 5. The fourth one was an outdoor festival permit for the Concerned Hotline Fish Fry to be held on September 1st from 1 to 4. The board also scheduled a public hearing for a Gold Orchard route, which is expected to be abandoned. That's all I have, Madam.
Thank you. I neglected to ask Mr. Oates to report for Frederick Water. Our representative is ill.
Yes, ma'am. We met on August the 15th, and adopted the 2017 sewer master plan that we've been working on for the last year. That plan is forecasted out for 30 years and has basically listed out improvements needed to upgrade the sewer system, which includes upgrading pump stations, redirecting some of the flows from the Opequon water treatment plant over to Parkins Mill, and looking at building some new sewer plants.
Thank you very much. I do believe that fixes us up for our committee reports. This is the time when we asked if there's anyone in the audience who would like make any comments to us. Seeing none, we will close the citizen comment portion. Our item tonight is a public hearing. It is the 2017-2022 Capital Improvement Plan. It's a prioritized list of capital projects requested by various county departments and agencies. The plan is created as an informational component of the 2035 comp plan. Mrs. Perkins.
Thank you, Madam Chairman, members of the commission. As you stated, this is the public hearing for the 2017-2022 CIP. It's a document that consists of a schedule for major capital expenditures for the county for the ensuing 5 years. Also within the document is a category for long-term projects that are 6 years plus out. Now, I would note that the inclusion of projects on the CIP is in no way indicating that Frederick County will be undertaking these projects. The CIP is strictly advisory. It's intended as a capital facilities planning document, not for requesting of funding allocations. It is also possible that particular projects may not be funded during the year that it's indicated on the CIP, and the status of any project becomes increasingly uncertain the more it is in the future. Now, the CIP is a document that's updated annually. With each cycle, projects are removed as they are completed or as priorities change. And I would also note that the monetary amounts shown within the CIP tables currently in front of you were completed during December 2016, January 2017, so they're a bit dated. Some of these figures have been changed. I would note that we did not go back through the agencies and solicit updated numbers. That will happen during the next CIP cycle for 2018-2023. Now, I would note that the CIP has been modified from its previous version to improve the presentation and utility. These modifications reflect some input that we received from commission members and the Board of Supervisors members. The CIP tables have been broken down into 3 separate categories. The 3 tables reflect projects that are, number 1, county-funded primarily projects, and then tables 2 and 3 reflect projects that have other funding sources, such as state or federal dollars. Now, this year's CIP continues to reinforce the connection between the CIP, the 2035 Comprehensive Plan, and future rezoning applications. The CIP includes a total of 75 projects. They are for schools, parks and recreation, the library, transportation, airport, county administration, and fire and rescue. Now, as I stated, the 3 tables. Table 1 consists of the general government expenditures, schools, parks, library, administration, and fire rescue. Table 2 is airport, and Table 3 is transportation. So I won't go through all of those because they're a little small on the screen, but that's just snapshots of the table from the CIP.
We have front row seats.
Maps that were also included
I couldn't be any closer, and I can't read it.
that correspond to the tables. Now, the CPPC, the Comprehensive Plans and Programs Committee, endorsed the CIP back at their March meeting. They did determine that the CIP is in conformance with the 2035 Comprehensive Plan. The CPPC forwarded the document to the Planning Commission and the Board. This was brought before the Commission at your April 2017 meeting as a discussion. And then tonight we are seeking a recommendation from the Planning Commission on the 2017-2022 CIP to forward to the Board of Supervisors, as well as an affirmation that the CIP is in conformance with the comprehensive plan. With that, I'd be glad to answer any questions.
Mr. Rhodes.
Back at the Comp Plan Committee and also in April, this was the 2017-2018 plan. Just like in years past, it's always been for a year.
Correct. We just tweaked the name a little bit for the entire time frame. It doesn't really change the document.
We're going to do yearly updates.
Yes,
I guess what was the point of moving out 5 years?
just to show that it was a 5-year document.
Okay.
It'll still be on the same time frame, though.
Are we going back to our regular time frame of reviewing these in November with the CPPC, adopting or coming to the Plan Commission in December and taking to the board in January?
We would anticipate the CPPC and Planning Commission probably seeing it at a similar time. When the board actually takes it, will be up to the board. We would imagine it would be about the same time also, perhaps a little bit closer to the budget, but we'll let the board give us that direction when we get there.
So next year's won't be like this year's, where I guess we're into September and normally it's adopted in February.
That's correct. This is really to get this back in line based upon the input we've gotten, to get it back in the system, and then to adjust the numbers with the submissions that will come on in over the next several months for the next CIP cycle.
Anyone else have any questions for Mr. Perkins? Yeah, are you,
I still got a couple.
okay.
So it sounds like we're adopting this and it's only going to be good for 3 months.
It will probably be in effect till at least spring of next year. It's really, we need an updated CIP on the books as soon as possible, just for any future rezoning applications that come through, because currently they're all being based off the previous year, since we don't have a 2016, 2017. Everything's currently on the 2015 CIP. So even though it'll be for an interim time period, we still need to get one on the books and then move into the next one, which wouldn't take effect till late spring, probably.
Yeah, Madam Chairman, the intent was really to make sure that any input we got regarding the format of the CIP was reflected in this new structure, and everybody was comfortable with that as we continue to go forward.
I'm still wondering why adopt this now, and if we're just, right now, all the agencies are basically getting their CIPs ready for us to be looking at in October, November. I mean, like if we were to table this today for 30 or 90 days, we're lining right up with the next one when it gets started. Plus, like you said, there's a lot of information in here that's out of date. Like Clearbrook Convenience Center, the 4th high school, the budget for the 12th elementary school. We're adopting something that's out of date. Not quite sure how I feel about this one. I'll get off the soapbox.
Madam Chairman,
carry
what we
on.
may be able to do as it goes towards the Board of Supervisors for their public hearing is, continue to look at some of those projects that may well be more advanced than they were 9 months ago and reflect any changes that are pretty obvious. So we would be able to do that certainly before this came in front of the board for a public hearing. If that's something that the Planning Commission was interested in making sure we included.
Anyone else? Anyone else have a question? Mr. Kenny?
Yeah, I'm in agreement with Commissioner Oates. And I will admit, I'm just a tad bit, because to go back what you said, Candace, and not pick on anyone, but you said you were going to get input then from the agencies, but then, and that would go for the end of this cycle, for this cycle here would end this cycle.
We would, once this is adopted, we would enter into a new cycle for the update.
Right, and that cycle would start
We would start it in the fall.
in the fall, okay.
Relatively soon, we would be sending out notifications to all the county agencies to get new
There's a
numbers.
definitive end to one cycle and a start to another cycle. The definitive end to this cycle would be,
Typically, we send them out in October, November.
Yeah, the end would be if the board approved this in October at an upcoming board meeting. That would be the end of this extended cycle, if you
and
will.
then for moving forward, then for the 2018, I agree with Mr. Oates, why we're going to 5 years, but, so moving forward then that's when we got input from the agencies then, would start the new cycle.
Yes.
Okay.
In the same manner, if you will, as we have done previously. So we'll be back on cycle. The only question, again, when the board actually adopts the CIP, do they do it in advance of their budget or as part of their budget? And that's ultimately the decision that the board will get into as the CIP comes in front of them. But the Comp Plan Committee, the Planning Commission will have done the background work to get the information ready for the Board of Supervisors to do with it as they see fit.
Anyone else? My understanding, Candace, was this was an effort to develop some platform at some point now so that we can move forward later. Is that correct?
Right, with the new format and receiving board comments, it's really to solidify a good format and a new process and make sure that the document moves forward so it doesn't stall like the 2016, 2017 plan.
Suits me.
Sir.
I think I'd be more comfortable if we went back to, since this really is a yearly plan, call it the 2017, 2018 plan. Those 2017 to 2022 kind of infers that we're not going to look at this again until 2022. Why call it a 5-year plan if we're updating it every year?
Should have been straightened out.
What did you think about that? Anybody else?
Madam Chairman, this would be a public hearing.
Yes. This is a public hearing. If there's anyone in the audience who would like to speak to us, please come forward. And seeing no one, we will close the public hearing. So what is your pleasure?
Move to adjourn.
Nope, gotta do something.
Something with this.
Yep.
I frankly see the need to move forward, and the only thing I'm concerned about is when we move forward, if the dates that we were talking about, where we could get off this platform and on, we've had some changes going on within the making of this, and I think that you've done a really good job in getting it come forward, Candace. And for what it's worth, it looks great and it reads great and it's comforting. So what we're talking about is either moving this forward with a positive recommendation or not to the Board of Supervisors. And I think we need to either discuss that further or to make a motion.
I will make the motion to move it forward for tonight.
Right. Is there a second? Well, we need to have another motion.
I will retract that motion.
Sure. Oh, me. You need to make it, Gary.
Rather than make a motion to deny, I would say let's table this for 45 days and go ahead and get started on our 2018. It just doesn't sit well with me that we were going to be adopting something that's out of date, basically, at this point. I agree with you, the format looks good. I think Candace did an excellent job, but there's so much information in there that's out of date now that I'm not supportive of moving this forward.
Motion?
I move we table it for 45 days.
Is there a second?
Second.
Other comments? Any other wishes?
Gary, what is your reasoning for 45 days?
All the agencies right now are working on providing their updated numbers. Basically, we're in September, they're supposed to have them to us by November for our CPPC meeting.
Yeah.
We'll have updated information at that point.
Okay.
Otherwise, we're adopting this and really in 3 months, it's dead.
Spinning our wheels, in other words.
Yeah.
Okay.
Are there any other comments? Vote.
Marston, yes.
Ambrogi, yes.
Klein, yes.
Votes yes.
Molden, yes. Kenny, yes.
Triplett, no.
Chair votes no, but it passes. So we have made a recommendation to table it for 45 days. We are at the end of our agenda. This will go to the Board of Supervisors on September the 27th. And we do have a meeting on September the 20th. So we'll get back into the swing of things and keep it rolling. Anything else that someone would like to add? Anything?
I'd just like to add, there was not a knock against staff on the comprehensive plan, but what we looked at in April, and now it's 5, 6 months later, with the changes in there, it really didn't go back to committee. I just wasn't comfortable with it.
Well, we need to adjourn, I think. Someone want to make that motion?
Move for adjournment.
Second, all in favor? Aye. All opposed? Thank you. Thank you very much.